Every 2 years, just before the salmon run in the fall, ceremony leader Merv George gathers members of the Hoopa tribe to perform what's called the white deerskin dance.
We've been doing these ceremonies since the beginning of time.
The ceremony involves a 10-day canoe ride down the Trinity River. And the pinnacle of the ceremony is the boat dance, a highly sacred event that cannot be filmed or photographed, and that includes our cameras.
If you take pictures during the ceremonies or if you're trying to film stuff, the Kahenai probably thinks that you want to know what they look like and they may take you. So that's part of the reason why we don't want people to film these things, so we really appreciate that.
The white deerskin dance is essential to Hoopa culture. And its origin is told through a story which starts with a trickster named Coyote, who wanted very much to steal a woodpecker blanket from the Hoopa's spirits, whom they call the Kahenai.
But then he knew the Kahenai were going to be chasing him, and they were going to want their blanket back. So he needed to outrun them. So he made himself a huge bow up here on Bald Hill, and he shot himself to get away from the Kahenai that was chasing him.
Coyote spent several days hiding from the Kahenai. He moved along the Trinity River from one location to another until one day the Kahenai found him and took back the woodpecker blanket.
Part of his punishment was that he needed to teach us mortals how to be able to gather things for yourself, to be able to make your own woodpecker blanket. And that's part of the reason we got this ceremony handed to us.
Stories like this help keep the Hoopa's culture alive. As it's passed down, it reminds new generations the importance of the water and the land they live on.
We're definitely known for one of the tribes that have been able to keep our culture going since day one.
Mainly due to the remoteness of their territory, the U.S. government never forced the Hoopa off their land. Unlike most Native American tribes, a treaty was signed in 1864, protecting the land that the Hoopa lived on, but it didn't protect the water that ran through it.
Since the dams went in, of course, it made it a lot easier to divert the water that normally should be coming down here to go somewhere else.
The problem is to get water from where it falls to where it will do the most good.
Starting in the early 1930s, a massive water reclamation and relocation effort known as the Central Valley Project began. Today, 18 dams and reservoirs on major rivers, including the Trinity, store water, create electricity, and transport that water to thirsty crops from Redding to Bakersfield.
New resources, new wealth, new markets to make America strong and keep America free.
Broadly speaking, everyone who buys or sells grapes, lettuce, and cotton from the Central Valley benefits from the project. Everyone, except the Hoopa.
We started discovering that, we're suffering some salmon population issues.
Prior to 1999, upwards of 90% of the cold, clean water from the Trinity River was ultimately stopped at the Trinity and Lewiston Dam, then diverted to the Sacramento River. That loss of the cold, clean water caused fish kills, like the one that happened in 2002.
When you're looking at 68,000 adult salmon belly up and just littering the sides of the bank, the only thing that I could think of in my mind was sort of the feeling that a lot of the natives had when they were watching all the buffalo get killed.
Merv George and the Hoopa tribe have spent a great deal of time fighting for water rights in the Trinity, and they've made great progress. Today, 50% of the original water flows are released from the dam, but still, it's often not enough. In fact, the Hoopa must actually request from the federal government to release more water just to safely float the river for the white deerskin dance.
And this year being another drought year, I know how valuable this water is.
The agreement on water flows is not ideal, but the Hoopa were here before the dams, and they hope to be here if the day comes when those dams are gone.
Our old people tell us, no matter what, you keep these dances going.
From the waters of the Trinity River in Hoopa, I'm John Bartel.